Hello, Crown Council members. Stuart Anderson here for an exclusive webinar. I'm online with Greg Anderson and also with Jim Poole, CEO and President of Solace and NewCalm. He's going to be speaking to us about NewCalm today. This webinar is a part of our new program for our vendor partners, which will provide basic information and an introduction to the vendor, and we'll post it to the Crown Council website where you can watch it as many times as you want. So welcome, gentlemen. We're glad to have everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn the time over to Greg. He's got a great little introduction and an opportunity to describe and tell us about how he met NewCalm and how he introduced them to Crown Council. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, thanks, Stu. I was first introduced to NewCalm about 10 years ago. Steve Anderson and I were on a trip to San Antonio to the office of Charter Lifetime Qualified Crown Council member Dr. Ed Staffel, who we'd known for many years. And at the time, we were working on an oral cancer awareness program with Major League Baseball. And Dr. Staffel had a technology he wanted to introduce to us that helped with tobacco cessation. This was our first introduction to NewCalm, don't know if that's what it was called at the time, which is a technology that was pioneered by a neuroscientist, Dr. G. Blake Holloway. Is that right?
Correct.
Blake. And NewCalm is described as a predictable, easy-to-use clinical system, and it's used in dentistry, cardiology, oncology, psychotherapy, sleep medicine, eating disorders, and even for professional sports performance. Launched to the dental market in September of 2010, and the latest numbers I have are that over 82,000 dental patients have already experienced NewCalm in 44 states, and the returns are that 95% of NewCalm patients state that they would use NewCalm again, and 98% state they would recommend it to friends and family. As I said earlier, Ed Staffel was instrumental in bringing NewCalm to dentistry through Walter and Barbara Haley, who introduced Dr. Staffel to Dr. Holloway 11 years ago, and the rest, as they say, is history. So Jim, President and CEO and Grand High Lama of NewCalm, we are grateful to have you with us and are standing by now to learn more about NewCalm improving the human experience.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you everybody for listening to this webinar. We as a company are really excited to be a vendor partner and resource to the Crown Council membership, and it's interesting that we've kind of been ancillary and around the Crown Council membership through Dr. Ed Staffel and G. Blake Holloway and Walter Haley for the last decade. So welcome everybody. As Greg mentioned, my name is Jim Poole, President and CEO of Solace. I assumed that role on October 26, 2009. And my objective today for today's webinar is to try and effectively educate on the anatomy and physiology of anxiety, talk about the applied neuropsychobiology of NewCalm, and then get right to the brass tacks of the clinical application of NewCalm, how the easy 4 steps are used, and then the business impact that we have seen over the past couple of years in dental. So NewCalm, a proven solution that will transform you, your team, your patients, and your practice. We say this with great pride, and we say this with great data to support. What we're doing as a company, what Solace does, is develops and creates clinical solutions that are all natural and proven to remediate stress and anxiety at the midbrain level. The NewCalm solution is essentially mimicking the body's natural pathways used to prepare you for sleep. So by virtue of that process, you cannot become addicted to NewCalm, you cannot be allergic to NewCalm, and invariably every human being on the planet needs to sleep. So from our data, from our anecdotal usage, and from traveling all over the world using NewCalm for the past couple of years, what we've seen is NewCalm may not help every human being on the planet, nothing really will, but we cannot hurt a human being. So that is an essential value proposition to what we're doing. Now the etiology of NewCalm and how this all came to be was through the bright mind of Dr. G. Blake Holloway, neuroscientist and naturopathic clinician. And he leads up a lot of task force by the federal government. So in 1995, he was called into Oklahoma City to basically handle triage and post-traumatic stress disorder victims. And in doing so, he was quite unimpressed and quite dissatisfied with conventional narcotic-based pharmaceutical therapies. And essentially what he'll tell you is he knew he was doing a service and he knew he was helping people, but invariably what he was doing through narcotics was simply masking the symptomology of PTSD. And for those of you who know anybody with post-traumatic stress disorder, it is the furthest of the continuum of the anxiety disorders. There are 7 diagnosable anxiety disorders. People plagued with PTSD suffer hypervigilance, they suffer a lack of trust, they suffer traumatic memories, they don't sleep well. Essentially, they live in this state of fight or flight their entire existence. And we're seeing the manifestation of PTSD with essentially any person who comes back from the theater of war. And a lot of these folks, sadly, self-medicate through alcohol and drug abuse, and there's been an increased incidence of suicide. So you can take great solace knowing that the profile of patient that NewCalm was developed for is the furthest continuum of the most plagued human beings on earth. Therefore, we can extrapolate that if NewCalm works on that profile, it will work on probably 95% of the folks that come to your dental chair. So the physiology of anxiety, this is a really important piece to note. It's very fascinating. I'm just going to give you a broad brush stroke. Essentially what happens is your central nervous system is constantly monitoring your whereabouts and your surroundings on a nanosecond level. You don't think about it. This is how this works. And essentially what happens is a trigger is identified. And a trigger is identified in the midbrain, a piece of the midbrain called the amygdala. This is an almond-shaped piece of the midbrain. And it's essentially the flight deck for the fight or flight syndrome. Once that is basically put on high alert, indicating that you are physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically in danger, you're not in a safe environment, your body starts mobilizing to take care of yourself to a threat. The amygdala fires neurons to what's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, adrenal cortex, and you immediately start firing adrenaline. Your body mobilizes for that threat. The best way to think about the fight or flight response is to think about your reaction physically, emotionally, and psychologically when you are almost in a car accident. So you can feel the blood flow go to the extremities. You can feel your tummy get a little crazy because of the high incidence of cortisol. But you also have greater sense of peripheral vision, increased olfactory sense. The sense of time decreases. You're very tense. This is the manifestation of anxiety. And this is done without any knowledge. You don't think about it. Neurons don't leave the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex until after this whole process has begun. And interestingly enough, the HPA axis is a unilateral axis. Once the hypothalamus is alerted that you are in danger, you will secrete adrenaline until you are protected. Okay, so now let's switch gears in the autonomic nervous system to the other side of the equation. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for adrenaline, alertness, and fight or flight. The parasympathetic is the opposite. This is where monks get to when they meditate. This is where people feel at peace of mind when they are relaxed following a Tai Chi, following meditation, following any type of mindfulness practice, breathing exercises, etc. What's interesting to note here is in a parasympathetic dominant state, you are physically incapable of having an anxious response. So the amygdala, the HPA axis, the adrenal cortex, the body mobilizing to protect itself cannot physically happen. But in a parasympathetic state, it doesn't negate your brain from having anxious thoughts. You can think about anxious things or things that typically trigger a stress response. You will not have the physiology of the anxious response. So NewCalm is an all-natural clinical solution. This is a very important piece of the puzzle. The all-natural piece really defines what NewCalm is all about. This clinical solution is safe. There are no side effects, no recuperative time, and no supervision needed. Why? Because all we're doing is mimicking the architecture that the body uses to prepare you for sleep at night. When you're done with NewCalm, and it doesn't matter how long you've been under NewCalm, you are fully lucid and fully sober, so you can do whatever you like. It's predictable. Predictable because the human physiology of humans is the same across the board. Everybody needs to sleep. The architecture of sleep and preparing you for sleep is the same. So since we're mimicking that architecture, We know that this is going to work. The only difference, the only variation will be the length of time it takes for some people to get to a deeply relaxed state. It's reliable, improves pain management, patient comfort, and patient healing. This is a very profound piece of the puzzle for NewCalm. To have any clinical solution that can make that value proposition sound is rather remarkable. But it follows logic. When you are not in a stressful situation, your body and your brain and your psychology is not stressed out, you will be more susceptible to pain management. You will be more comfortable, and the post-op healing will be more profound. This is all documented in the medical literature, pre-op, peri-op, and post-op healing, and how it's correlated to stress management. So when we take the body of a patient and we get them from fight or flight or resistance to cellular homeostasis and relaxation, guess what we've done? We've slowed down the metabolism. Guess what we've done? We've made the body more apt and more congenial to what you're trying to do. And then it's simple to administer. The neuroscience and the applied neuropsychobiology behind NewCalm is incredible. Very fascinating, very deep, a lot of literature, a lot of research. But the clinical application is very easy, and that's a really important piece of the puzzle. If this was very difficult, we would not be having this conversation right now because NewCalm would have vaporized in the back room of G. Blake Holloway's brain. So it's been validated by dentists and patients. Currently, NewCalm is being used in 44 states, and what Greg alluded to was over 82,000. Well, yesterday, we crossed over the 87,800 patient mark. We're seeing about 4,000 to 6,500 patients a month using NewCalm, and it just keeps increasing as we continue to get more systems in the field. You also see an incredible subjective survey instrument of 95%. 95% of people who use NewCalm want to use it again. And why is that? Because people, when they go to the dentist, don't expect to feel relaxed. They don't expect to leave feeling like they've been to a yoga studio. So we're literally changing the paradigm and thinking process and perceptions that Americans have about seeing a dentist. So that would explain the profundity of the 95% survey. So let's get right to the clinical application of NewCalm. The first step in the process is to chew all-natural tablets. These are a cornucopia and a proprietary formulation of inhibitory neurotransmitters. They are built to interrupt the adrenaline. So the HPA axis that I discussed, the unilateral axis, is interrupted. We're going to stop the madness that's happening behind the eyes of your patients as they enter the reception area. Most of these ingredients are manufactured in our brains, and they are regulated by the FDA as generally recognized as safe. Same thing as vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, garlic, whey, etc. 87,800 patients have used NewCalm in the dental world. We're also using it in cardiology, oncology, sleep medicine, psychotherapy, eating disorder clinics, and professional athletics. We have yet to have a single reported adverse event to NewCalm because all we're doing is through combinatorial chemistry creating a chewable tablet that is built on all-natural inhibitory neurotransmitters, most of which we use at night to prepare ourselves for sleep. So the application, chair side, is simply you chew step one tablet. You hold it in your mouth for 90 seconds. We want sublingual absorption. These neurotransmitters cross the blood-brain barrier and are in your prefrontal cortex within a minute. Step two is 2 tablets, same process, 90 seconds. The longer that you sublingually absorb them, the more impact they have in the prefrontal cortex. The second step to the equation is called cranial electrotherapy stimulation. This is a mild subsensory microcurrent, okay? This is not to be confused with TENS, not to be confused with any electric stim when you go see a chiropractor. This is used as a catalyst to create greater cell permeability of the receptor sites in the prefrontal cortex so that the chewable tablets are absorbed and have maximum efficacy. Think about going into a dental office, a cardiology, cath lab, oncology for chemo, it doesn't matter where you're going. And think about how uncomfortable that environment is and how it makes you feel. Well, if you're on alert and your body's trying to protect itself, it doesn't really want to sit back and have a turkey dinner, a glass of white wine, and some mozzarella cheese. Same thing happens with the chewable tablets. So the receptor sites are not that open. Your brain wants adrenaline. We use this cranial electrotherapy stimulation as a catalyst to create greater efficacy for the chewable tablets. How you apply this is simple. We have neuro patches that go behind the ear just below the mastoid process. You turn on the cranial electrotherapy stimulation device. It's digital. It's a clean signal. As soon as the patient feels it, if they feel it, you dial it back. You do not need to feel this. This is sub-sensory microcurrent stimulation. Third piece of the puzzle, probably the most profound piece and certainly the most sophisticated when it comes to brain science. So the first two steps are the chewable tablets and the CES device. Together, they have the impact of having a glass of wine or two, or any type of anxiolytic element, right? So when you have that after a long day, you can feel the gravitational pull on your body kind of relaxes a little bit. That's the impact of the chewable tablets and the CES device. But we haven't mimicked the architecture of sleep yet. This is really the true mechanism of action behind NewCalm. So what we're doing is you're going to listen to classical music. By virtue of the frequency of classical music, you know it has a distraction technique and a relaxation response. We know that. But what we're doing is using it to create a pathway so we can present the brain with a beat. We're going to be using some very sophisticated neuroacoustic software that leverages frequency following response and binaural beat to trick the brainwave function and then train your brainwave function to the first stage of sleep. I know it sounds crazy. I know the words I'm using sound crazy. Here's what we're doing visually. We want to present the brain with a beat, 12 hertz, 10 hertz, 8 hertz, 6 hertz, 4 hertz. To do this, you cannot hear these beats, okay? This is inaudible, but it's the first stage of sleep. So we're going to use what's called binaural beat. This was found in 1839 by a German scientist. And essentially, we're going to embed 100 hertz in the right ear, 112 hertz in the left ear. The brain cannot handle that dissonance, and the caudate nucleus of the midbrain will naturally subtract the difference of these 2 hertz, and the brain will be left presented with the 12 hertz beat. Really incredible. I mean, when we first heard about this, we were like, what is going on here? How does this work? Let's talk brainwave frequency for a second. Beta brainwave function, autonomic nervous system of sympathetic, alert functioning, 13 to 30 hertz, and that's associated with day-to-day wakefulness. High beta is your anxious folks, coming in, sweating, acting bizarre, have a rash on their face, not giving good eye contact, etc. This is associated with fear and anxiety. So look at that. If a typical functioning adult is at 13, 14, 15 hertz, a type A overcaffeinated adult is at 16, 17, 18 hertz. A high functioning, high anxiety patient, literally up to 38 hertz, is almost a magnitude of 3 times our brainwave function. So it's no wonder their heart's palpitating, they've got shallowness of breath, they're acting bizarre, they're sweating, their hands are cold and clammy. Their brainwave function is freaking out. Alpha is the first stage of sleep, 8 hertz to 12 hertz, associated with relaxation, meditation, and idleness. Theta is associated with restorative sleep and lost sense of time and place. And delta is deep sleep. We're going to oscillate the brainwave function in the alpha-theta crossover area from 12 hertz down to 4 hertz. And interestingly enough, Dr. Holloway took several years to develop this specifically for one-time clinical use. There are a lot of binaural beat tapes out there, but they're not sophisticated for one-time clinical use because what they do is they present a 12 hertz beat, and they don't oscillate the brainwave function. They just get you to 12 hertz. Well, your brain gets bored really easily, and it will jump up to beta or high beta or fall asleep. So over the course of whatever time frame you want to do, 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour appointment, we're going to literally oscillate the brainwave function and circle it like a NASCAR pace car from 12 hertz, 10 hertz, 8 hertz, 6 hertz, 4 hertz, and back up. That's the beauty and the sophistication behind what we're doing in the music. So here you simply turn on the noise dampening headphones, the MP3 player. There's one track on there, and it will simply repeat. So you don't have to worry about stopping mid-procedure or anything. That person will be in la-la land, hanging out in the first stage of sleep for the duration, whatever time it takes for the clinical procedure. Last piece of the puzzle is light blocking glasses. We are visually stimulated by light. If we were to get your brainwave function in the first stage of sleep but allow you to be visually stimulated by light in the operatory, we lose. And we've also done the research on anxiety and triggers of anxiety and found that when people see sharp instrumentation going to their mouth, it triggers an anxious response. We're going to take care of all of that. We're going to basically create light-blocking glasses. You put these on, and by virtue of simply closing your eyes, you can increase brainwave production of alpha waves by 30%. So that is the 4 components of NewCalm. You apply the light-blocking glasses, really easy. And so synergistically, through these 4 simple components that are easy to administer, we will mimic the body's natural process for preparing you for sleep. So the applied neuropsychobiology and the science behind this is sophisticated, It's fascinating and it's awesome. The clinical application could not be any easier. And here's your NewCalm state of mind. NewCalm contraindications. It doesn't work on every profile of human. There are a few elements here that need to be addressed. Patients under the age of 12, the brain development for 12 shows that GABA A and GABA B, gamma-aminobutyric acid, a primary inhibitory neurotransmitter used to prepare you for sleep, actually has an excitatory response in developing brains. So we cannot use the chewable tablets for this profile. Pregnant and nursing mothers, same holds true. Do not use the chewable tablets because most female pregnant ladies, especially in the last trimester, don't want to have an excited fetus. And then patients with pacemakers, ventricular assist devices, cochlear implants, or brain implants do not use the CES. Now, conceptually, the CES should not cross the brain into the body, but we're a wellness company. We're here to do good for people. We're here to improve the human experience. We're not going to take any risk, especially with a profile that small. So, interesting to note, here are your contraindications, but for every one of these folks, you can still use the other components. Most importantly, you can use the light-blocking glasses and the Neuro-acoustic software that is embedded in the classical music and played through the noise-dampening headphones. It will have an anxiolytic impact. It will have a sense of relaxation. It simply will not be as profound. So the NewCalm process, just to review. Patient says yes to NewCalm. Great, yes, I'd love to relax. I'd love to be more comfortable, and I'd love to get out of here faster. Excellent. Assistant sets the patient up on NewCalm. Takes about 4 minutes. The limiting factor is really the 90 seconds for the chewable tablets. Patient relaxes on NewCalm for a couple minutes. Okay? This doesn't take long. What you're going to notice is the phalanges will twitch. That's the release of muscle tension in your body. The chest cavity will expand, and they'll start taking deep breaths. This happens really quickly. Then you'll go in, administer local anesthetic, begin the procedure, complete the procedure with NewCalm. Allow the patient to relax on NewCalm for a couple minutes afterwards. Let them go back to la-la land. And then stop the NewCalm experience, take the components off, and they can leave and have a great day. That's as easy as it gets. So why dentistry? Why are we here? If we have a product and a solution that improves the human experience through stress remediation, it doesn't take a rocket science to realize, wait a second, stress is everywhere. Airports, cardiology, medical, test taking, prom zits, doesn't matter what you're talking about. Stress is part of the human condition. We're here because this is the most dominant psychological factor behind patient behaviors. And the executive team has a lot of experience in dental, and we have a lot of friends who are dentists. We're here because we can be. We're here because we know there's latent demand to take care of people who don't want to be in the dental chair. And why is that? Why do 60 million Americans avoid going to the dentist? Literally 1/5 of our population don't go to the dentist. And there's enough research out there on the oral systemic health link and the issues that are brought on by not taking care of your oral health. We know this, but we're still not doing anything about it. So this is a huge piece of the puzzle for us. It's an opportunity to do right by people, and it's also an opportunity to go with friends and family and people that we like to make a difference. So what are the causes of dental anxiety? Why do 60 million people don't come, and why is 82% of the population that do come to the dentist have anxiety? First and foremost, fear of pain. That's a no-brainer, and this really elicits the opportunity for the ADA or another governing body to start creating awareness to the American population. Because through the advances of technology and techniques, people aren't getting hurt in a dental chair anymore, but the perceptions have not changed. People still equate dentistry with fear of pain. The feeling of loss of personal space. We are anthropologically conditioned to protect our mouths as a means of survival, as a means of communication, and as a means of expressing intimacy. So I could do a quick social study on anybody, and I could shake your hand. If I wanted to be more intimate, I could touch on the shoulder. But if I reach for your mouth, you will inadvertently step away, and you'll look at me like I'm crazy. So when you go to a dentist, you literally open your mouth, and there's other people's hands in your mouth, instrumentation, suction, water, etc. Feeling of helplessness and loss of control. Omer Reed is one of our highly respected advisor members, and he has a lot of axioms for anyone who's seen him lecture. One of my favorites is, what is trust, Jim? Trust is voluntary vulnerability. So tacit in the fact that everybody comes into your office, lies on their back in an exceptionally vulnerable position, and opens their mouth, shows the level of trust they have in you as their oral health provider. But it creates a lot of anxiety for people, whether they're aware of it or not. The anticipation of pain and discomfort, feeling of embarrassment and shame, really targeted for the 60 million Americans that don't go to the dentist. When they finally come to see you because they can't masticate, they've got abscesses, they're in pain, whatever the reason is, you know you may never see them again, but you also know that they're coming in feeling really shameful. They know they're going to see a dentist, and they know they've been non-compliant, and they know they're not taking care of themselves, period. Fear of anesthetic side effects, and fear of injections or fear that it won't work. So fear of the needle, interestingly enough, this is both sides of the equation. There was a study done about 10 years ago on what causes dentists the most anxiety, and it's administering local. So it causes the dental profession the most anxiety, and it causes a lot of the patients the most anxiety. When you take the eye out of the equation so that you're that close to them and you're doing the puppet show and distraction technique and whatever you're doing to do your local, well, when you close their eyes and they're relaxed, it changes that whole paradigm for you. How does this make people behave? This is a really important piece of the puzzle. This is what we have learned in the 2.5 years of playing in the dental world. And this is the impact that these behaviors have. Now, stress and anxiety are dramatically impacting the entire profession, but there's not a lot of literature and there's not a lot of awareness to why. I think dentists simply say, hey, that's just part of my everyday. But how does stress and anxiety make people behave? Gagging. People who gag in your dental chair aren't gagging when they're relaxed. They're not gagging right now listening to this webinar. They're not gagging ordering food at lunch. This is the manifestation of anxiety. Tongue battles. No clinician I know enjoys working with the tongue, and that again is a manifestation of stress and anxiety. It's autonomic. Their tongue is just battling you, and you need access, especially if you're doing, back molar work. Excessive salivation. You open the mouth and Niagara Falls comes out. You're like, wait a second, what's going on here? Stress and anxiety. Clenching jaw. You're dental professionals. You need access to the oral cavity, but when the masseter temporalis muscles, the head, neck, and jaw muscles are all tight, it's really difficult. This challenges your ability to do your best work. Stalling and uncooperative behavior. I love this piece. I tell dentists and dental professionals, you could write a book on the social psychology of humans when they're in an uncomfortable environment, because you see some really bizarre behaviors on a daily basis. Clutching and grabbing. And this one here creates anxiety for me just thinking about it, and I'm not a dentist. Unpredictable movements. I believe that dentists are the only medical practitioners that tolerate sharp instrumentation surgical procedures on a moving target. It's not if they're going to move, it's when they're going to move. And can you predict that they're going to move? It's insanity. This is crazy. Look at this list. Look what would happen if you remediated or got rid of all of these elements to your day-to-day. Think about the chairside efficiency that you have. Think about the stress remediation for you personally and your assistant and the patient. This is what we're addressing. This is what hits us on the forehead to say, why not bring NewCalm to dental first? 82% of the population have some level of anxiety coming to the dentist. And here's an important piece. It's not your patient's fault. It's really difficult to separate the emotional component to the intellectual. You know that these patients who really cause you guys a lot of chaos and drain you emotionally and psychologically, their goal in life is not to create pain and suffering for you and your team. But it's hard emotionally not to see that. What's interesting for us, we have a lot of high-definition videos we've been taking of thousands of patients and our clinicians. When you interview patients, it's really interesting to find out the pain that they're in. Literally, some of these folks haven't slept for 4 or 5 days before the appointment. It's pretty profound. So an anxious response is triggered whether the threat is real or perceived. This is really fascinating. This will make you a better clinician tomorrow just by virtue of awareness of this fact. The physiology that I discussed, the amygdala, the HPA axis, the adrenal cortex, mobilizing to prepare for a threat, this happens whether the brain sees that you are truly in danger or simply thinking about it. This is the etiology of phobias. Your physiology is exactly the same whether it's in your head or you're really in danger. That is fascinating. Secondarily, like we discussed, the HPA axis is a unilateral axis. Once stimulated, you have to get out of this. You can't be talked out of an anxious response. I'm personally scared of heights. I can't be talked out of my fear of heights. I know a lot of people are scared of spiders. You can't be talked out of it. You have to get out of the situation. And lastly, and this is really important for case acceptance, case presentation, and just simply dialogue with your patients. When you are in fight or flight, it is impossible to cognitively process information. This is fascinating. And we've seen a lot of anecdotal pieces here where we had one clinician just about 3 months ago call me up and say, hey, something really fascinating happened to me. And it speaks to the cognitive piece. I was working on somebody, did a couple of Class 2 restorations, done, and then had really good dialogue with the patient chairside. About a week later, I saw them in Whole Foods, and I started talking to them. They had no recollection of any of the conversation we had had. And he was like, this is weird, man. Was I speaking to you? How does this work? This is really important. When people are neuropathy or people pre or post, and they are in an anxious response, fight or flight, they're a little sweaty, their eyes are darting, and they're not paying all that much attention, cognitively it is impossible for them to process information. So think about that. This is not the time for you to be engaging in conversation. Now, what if you could create something that had people lucid, focused, and available cognitively? That's what NewCalm will do. So how does patient anxiety affect dentistry? Compromises the quality of care you can provide, adversely impacts your production, negatively impacts the entire mood and atmosphere of your office. It's amazing what one really anxious patient can do for your entire business. And it's bad for business because of lost time and lost word-of-mouth referrals. And here's a paradigm here that's an immutable law of dental. You only make money when your hands are in someone's mouth. So if you can bring any technology into your practice that saves time, you're going to win. So we did some time sensitivity analysis. On average, a dental practitioner in the United States market is chairside 32.6 hours a week. Well, let's look at the impact that these anxious behaviors have. No-shows, stalling tactics, gagging, tongue movement, re-administering local. Look at this. This is a dramatic impact on your ability to make payroll, to grow your business, to get money for marketing, to build your retirement. This directly is affecting your ability to run your business at an optimal level. Look at this. It's amazing. So anxious behaviors are eating away your bottom line. Net income, production, profitability, it doesn't matter what you call it. These behaviors are negatively impacting your bottom line on the business front. On an emotional front, there's no reason, if you think about dentistry, that you should leave on a daily basis or a couple times a week emotionally, psychologically, and physically wiped out. It's all predicated on the experience and the proximity of you working with another human being who's anxious and doesn't want to be there. So stop the madness. What is NewCalm doing in dentistry? It allows dentists to perform dentistry without compromise. Deep relaxation is maintained for the entire procedure. Significantly reduces or eliminates gag reflex, tongue battles, excessive swallowing, defensive postures, muscle tension, startle responses. Reduces the amount of local anesthesia needed. Basically, we're slowing down metabolism, so you're not going to metabolize through your local. So re-administering local and repacking cord and re-isolating, that's done. And then improves post-op healing. The beliefs of Americans. This is what gets me excited for dentists, even though we're in a bad economy and everybody's affected. The reality is there's an emotional component to a smile. We can all thank pop culture and our obsession with Hollywood and People magazine, etc. Because 92% of the population believe a smile is an important social asset. 74% believe a bad smile can hurt their career. And then here's the big one. 52% of the American population are dissatisfied with their smile. So whether it's diastemas, color, chipping, amalgams, shape, doesn't matter. They're not satisfied. So if you have 15, 16, 1,700 patients on record, half of those folks that know you, trust you, love you are not satisfied with their smile. So you have latent demand for your services. We also know through the research that 55% of the population state that fear is their number one obstacle from getting the dentistry that they want done. So if you look at the macro trends here and you say 52% of the population that come see me, love me, know me, trust me are not satisfied, and 55% state that fear is the number one hurdle, look at the opportunity that you have in front of you. How can that not be exciting? With NewCalm, you can create the ideal patient. There's no pharmaceuticals. There's no permits required. There's no liability. You're essentially adding a yoga studio, a meditation area, Tai Chi studio in your reception area. You're doing this through an all-natural clinical solution called NewCalm. Patients may drive following the dental procedure when used as a standalone relaxation therapy, not when used to potentiate nitrous, oral conscious sedation, or IV sedation, and enhances other sedation and pain management protocols. This brings up a great point. There's a lot of clinicians that use NewCalm that use it in conjunction with other anxiolytic treatments. For example, nitrous. Some people enjoy the feeling of nitrous. They enjoy the journey they go on with nitrous. Doesn't mean they're going to love NewCalm. Doesn't mean you take away nitrous. You can potentiate the two together. You can potentiate any anxiolytic agents together. Just keep in mind that when you create cellular homeostasis and relaxation with NewCalm, you've put the body at a much more pliable place. Therefore, you can use oral conscious sedation. You can use nitrous. You can use IV sedation in conjunction with NewCalm. Use the NewCalm first, get them equilibrated at their relaxation point, and then use whatever thing you want to potentiate. Dr. Ed Staffel, who's been instrumental in bringing NewCalm to dental, swears by the combination therapy of nitrous and NewCalm, period. He absolutely loves it, and a lot of his patients love it. He thinks it's the holy grail. So the business side, the voice of your patients. What do they say about you, your team, your practice, and how can you improve their message? You know, you're in a service business, okay? The perceptions of your community, the perceptions of your patients drive your growth. If you can increase satisfaction on the patient side, you will invariably increase word-of-mouth referrals. And if you increase services, you improve your ability to bill more, period. There's only a couple ways to grow your business as a service business. Increase patient satisfaction, increase your services. But this is a really important piece. You can't just work in isolation. It doesn't work that way. Their perceptions, the perceptions of every patient that comes through your door is going to drive your business success. What are patients saying about NewCalm? I can't stand going to the dentist. Today I had a root canal and could not find a place to get anxious or fearful. The endodontist told me I was best patient of the day. I was like, okay through the entire procedure because of NewCalm. That's Doug. We have thousands of these survey instruments and results. So what is NewCalm doing? The membership of the Crown Council is a great fit for NewCalm because you're higher level thinkers, you're progressive, you invest in technologies, and I think the most important element here is you understand the value of improving the patient experience, and by virtue of doing that, you make everything better for the patient, but you also increase your business. So what does NewCalm do to differentiate you in a tough competitive landscape? Growth from existing patients. This speaks to the 52% of the folks that aren't satisfied, and 55% is fear the only obstacle. Growth from new patients. You guys are well-versed in practice management. You know that a new patient that's compliant is probably worth $900 to $1,200 for you over the course of the year, and a non-compliant, highly anxious patient is worth almost $4,000 for that first year. Improve patient satisfaction. Improve procedural efficiencies and efficacy. Think about this. You get rid of gagging, salivary flow, tongue battles, stalling tactics, no-shows, all that stuff. We've done time analysis with stopwatches and found that 26 to 37% chairside efficiencies by using NewCalm. 26 to 37% saving. Not 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, quarter of an hour or more per hour that you're scheduled. What does that mean? That means we're not going to tell you what to do with your schedule. It means it gives you the liberty to spend more time with your patients, to spend more time training and educating and leading your team, to spend more time with your lab work, to ensure that you have opportunity to treat emergency patients and not create chaos in the practice. Improve team satisfaction and greater retention of your key team members. So how do you get started with NewCalm? Here are the economics of NewCalm. This is a lease. This is a 12-month lease, $749 per month for 12 months. This is zero interest financing. There are no fees associated with this and free shipping and handling of all the components that you receive. The system lease includes the following: one NewCalm system, one NewCalm refill, which is 20 patient applications per month automatically shipped, unlimited training and professional marketing support. This lease has evolved. When we first came to market, the system cost $5,000 per system and was $475 per patient per refill. As we got down the learning curve and found out who's doing what and what the best practice is, we developed this protocol, and this has been really successful. 99% of our domestic customers use this lease program. Our international folks in Australia and the United Kingdom don't have access to this. And then by virtue of our relationship with the Crown Council, we've created our most ambitious promotion. This promotion is exclusively available to only folks who show up to our CE events, and we just started this January 1st. But we're expanding this to the Crown Council membership. 2 NewCalm system leases, $999 a month. What we found is that a general practitioner typically will have a NewCalm system per doctor per restorative operatory. Start down the path that way. It's typically a 1-month to 2-month learning curve, not because the application is difficult, but changing behaviors and adding this to your workflow, getting people educated, getting your team behind it, getting folks understanding how to use this, dialogue, etc. Takes time. 0% interest financing, no fees, and here's the coup de grace, unlimited NewCalm refills. We want people to use NewCalm. We are not interested at all as a wellness company to sell a technology people aren't going to use. That is not why we're here. That's not what we're here to do. We all fail if you buy this technology and it sits in your back operatory with your BioLays and your CEREC machine collecting dust. That is a failure for all of us. So unlimited NewCalm refills. We want you to use this. We want you to use this on yourself, your family members, your team members. This is stress remediation in a box. That's all this is. Free shipping and handling. The system lease promotion includes the following: 2 NewCalm systems, unlimited training, professional marketing support. So that is how you will get started with NewCalm. You will call us. We'll take your order. Within a couple business days, you'll have your NewCalm system, and then we will put you into our training protocol. Please use our training protocol. This has been validated, refined, and made reliable over the course of 2.5 years. You'll be impressed, I think, with all the data collection we have, and leverage the experience that we've had training folks and your peers have had using this. There are several members of the Crown Council membership who have been using NewCalm for a month to over 2 years, and then there's Dr. Ed Staffel, who's been using this since its inception. He was absolutely important to all the clinical validation. So Dr. Staffel, if you want access to the person who's done NewCalm on profoundly more than anybody on the planet, he's the person you'd want to speak with. Cure sometimes, treat often, comfort always. Our vision statement is improving the human experience, but I love this by Hippocrates. We work in oncology, cardiology, etc. We can't cure cancer with NewCalm, but we can make the chemotherapy process better, more manageable. We can remediate the nausea caused by vagus nerve stimulation. We can create better restorative sleep so the body can heal while it's being poisoned. That's what we stand for. Cure sometimes, treat often, comfort always. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your energy. I want to thank you for being leaders in a profession that is noble, that does great things for people and often doesn't get the respect, doesn't get the thank you that you deserve. Unfortunately, that's the irony of some of the things we contend with. I was a therapist for 5 years. My wife was a daycare provider, some of the most thankless jobs in the world. So we admire what you do. We appreciate what you do. And we're really pleased to be a resource partner to the Crown Council membership because you guys are leading the way and you are advancing the profession. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you and appreciate all you've done so far for Crown Council. We had you at the annual event this year in Vegas, and it was great to see our members interacting and learning about your program. So their contact information, NewCalm's contact information will be available on the Crown Council website. And if you have any questions at all, you can contact them. Their email and phone number is there, or you can always call the Crown Council office at 1-800-276-9658. Thanks, everybody. And
thank you very much.
Thanks.